Alright, so we're going to be talking about items today. So first things first, we need to make a new class. And I'm going to put it in the item package. And I'm going to call it tutorial items. So you could call this whatever you want, but basically it's going to store all of our item instances and handle registration of items. Typically what you'll see is like mod ID items. So in this case, I just write tutorial items. First things first, we add the object holder annotation, and we're going to put in our mod ID here. And then event bus subscriber annotation, and we need to specify the bus as bus.mod for this particular one, and we'll import those like that. Then we are going to make a public static final item object, and I'm going to call it tutorial item. We're going to set that equal to null. Now, this particular variable name is important, but I'll explain on that later, just like the annotations at the top, I'll explain on them. So then we need to add subscribe event, and it needs to be a public static void method, and you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it register items, because that's what it's going to do. And it's going to take in a register item parameter, and it is an event, so I'm just going to call it an event. Then we do event.getRegistry.register all, and then in here we're going to do a new item, and it takes in a parameter item.properties. I forgot the new keyword, and then .set registry name, and then in here there's 3 set registry names, so you can do it the way I'm doing it, where you go tutorial, you put your mod ID, and then in here we need, after this colon, we put the registry name, and the registry name has to match this, but it has to be all lowercase, so tutorial item. Okay, so if this was called Ruby, we would just put Ruby. Okay. Now the other way you can do this is set registry name resource location, and then return a new resource location, which you could put the string in there, or you could do the other type of set registry name that takes in 2 strings, where this is the mod ID, and this is the actual name. I figure the first one is just slightly less typing, so that's the one that I do. Now this item.properties thing, it has a bunch of methods that we can interact with. So tool type, so that would be like, is it an axe? Is it a pickaxe? Is it a shovel? Those are the 3 vanilla tool types. I don't think hoe is one because it doesn't break blocks. And then the int level is its harvest level. So diamond has a harvest level of 3, and that allows it to mine obsidian, whereas iron has a harvest level of 2, and therefore it can mine diamonds and redstone and all the other things that you can only mine with an iron pickaxe. The container item is used for crafting recipes. So if you use a water bucket or a lava bucket in a crafting recipe, it returns an empty bucket where the lava and water bucket were. That's what this is used for. This sets the maximum damage of the item, so for flint and steel, which isn't a tool, it doesn't have something associated with it that makes it a tool. This is how you set like how much damage it has, or how much damage it can take. If you're making a food item, you do food and you pass in a food. Group is one that we're going to do, so this is basically what creative tab it's in, and we'll put this one in materials. And then you can just chain on another thing. Max stack size, so this is how ender pearls only stack up to 16. You put max stack size 16. Now then rarity is like, it specifies the color of the item's name. It's pretty cool. We're gonna make it epic because our tutorial item is epic. Set no repair means that if it is damageable, it can't be repaired in an anvil. This is something a lot more complicated, but some items like the bed or the trident use this to render the item while it's in the player's hand. And that's complicated stuff, and we don't need to get into that for a long time, essentially. So now, what this object holder does, to explain this, is it marks this class that it holds registry objects, so items, blocks, enchantments, anything that we use a registry for. And what it does is, after the registry event is done firing, it goes through all of the fields, and it checks if it's an item, or if it is a registry object. Now, we can only store registry objects in here because we put this in here. I think. I'm not sure. But it goes through everything, and it takes this, and it takes this, and it puts them together to make this. And if it finds something in the registry with this name, it puts it as its value. Okay, makes sense? Now, this marks this as an event class. This registers anything with an @subscribe event here to the event bus, which is essentially just a list of classes or a list of methods that run on an event, which in particular is the register event. Now, there are two buses in particular. There's the mod bus and the forge bus. So the mod bus is used for varying things, mostly registry. That's basically what we're going to be using it for. And then the forge bus is used for in-game events, such as like breaking a block, determining how fast the block breaks. Now, we're not quite done with our item. It will appear in-game, but we don't have a texture for it, and we also don't have a model for it. So in here, we need to create a new package, assets, and then we need to put our mod ID here, tutorial mod, and then we do models.item. And then we need to make a new file, and we have to name it the registry name too. So tutorial item, and it's a JSON file, so .json at the end. Now in Eclipse, I have a JSON editor plugin, which makes editing JSONs easier. It tells you when there's errors or stuff, and you should get one if you have Eclipse. If you have IntelliJ, you should also get one. But what we're going to do here is we're going to type parent : item / generated, comma, and then textures : open curly braces, layer 0, and then we do our mod ID, tutorial mod : item / tutorial item. And this just tells it this is where you need to look for the texture. Now, we also need a new package, that's the word. And it's going to be under assets.tutorial mod.textures.item. Now I'm going to put my texture in it. So to the desktop, tutorial assets, tutorial item, and copy that into there. So now I've got a tutorial item texture, and we should be good to go. So now I'm gonna run the game, and I'll see you back once the game is started up. Alright, we're back, the game's loaded. Now let's load the world. Testing world 1. Well, ignore that, I was testing something else. For a person on the forums. Alright, now that we're here, we can go into our miscellaneous tab, which is actually the materials item group. Scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see we have item.tutorial_mod.tutorial_item. And it is purple. So you'll see that the texture and the model are working, but you'll also notice that the name isn't there. So to get the name there, we need to create another file. So that goes in resources, assets, tutorial mod, I need to create a new package first, I guess. Assets.tutorial mod.lang. And then in here we create a new file called en_us.lang. So this is the United States English language file. You can make your own. Now I believe I make an object, and then I do item.tutorial_mod.tutorial_item. item_mod.tutorial_item. And I think this is actually a JSON file. I don't remember if it's supposed to be called .lang anymore, but we'll see when I reload the assets. And in here we do tutorial item, which is the name of our item that we want in game. So neat trick. So if you press F3 and Q, it'll give you this debug stuff. And if we look, F3 plus T reloads the resource pack, which includes language files. So we'll give that a second. Okay, maybe it does need to be called .json. So let's refactor and rename. And F3T again. And if this doesn't work, I'll be back in a second to correct myself. Hey, there we go. So it is a .json file. And you'll see we have a tutorial item, and everything is good. So that's very basic item creation. I guess thank you for watching. Ow, my ears. Sorry about that. I'll see you guys next time, where I think I'll be covering blocks, or maybe I'll be covering more in-depth items, like creating a custom item class that has overrides on some of the methods. See ya.